Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. Bill McMinn, Mark Hostetler, both pastors at Eagleville, here to talk to you about what's so important about church, right? So sometimes people ask that question, what's going on? And one of the things that I think about is just the family aspect of it, because church becomes your family. As a guy who moved away from my family, my mom, before she passed away, and dad, they lived, let's say, 5 hours away from me. My twin brother lives 6 hours away from me. Jerry's parents about the same vicinity, and Uncle Nan 7 hours. We have no relatives in Ohio.
Yeah.
And so we came out here, and you're kind of on your own. You don't have that grandparent support when you have kids. You don't have those people. Your church family is your family. That's how it is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good that comes out of that too. Right. You know, there can be some negatives to not being part of your biological, family like that. I don't know much about that because my family lives just miles away from me.
Right.
And my whole life it's been like that. So I don't know your experience on them negatives, but having the positive of a church family come around you when you need it, be there to support you at all times, you can sense that community, you can build that community.
I don't think that it never made me forlorn about it, because I also realized the benefit was I had a lot going as a pastor, trying to also balance my family in on it. I was one of those guys, live light, live easy with the family ties. I wasn't too worried about it, but seeing what my daughter, now that I have a grandson for the last 4.5 months, and I see what an impact Jerry's having on him, and how many days Jerry watches him and helps out, and how easy it is for us to have, it's nice to see your grandson in church at the end of a service with your daughter and son-in-law. Like, that's pretty sweet. It's pretty nice when you come to an Easter holiday and everyone can be around, or my daughter has a birthday and we can just say, hey, come over for dinner. It's your birthday today. Let us feed you your favorite. What do you want to eat? Get you a ice cream cake. We'll hang out for an hour, and then, you go do your thing. But you're close enough that you don't have to worry about every second. You know what I'm saying? And make an account, because I'm only to see you twice a year or once a year.
Yeah.
So I think that's a blessing. I didn't have that. I mean, with my family, I didn't really get to see them. So church, I would say, played a huge instrumental role in my life. And I think of how much help. I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, if I build a fence, if a tree's coming down, if so many things, I mean, church family seems to come over and help you out from time to time, even when you don't expect it.
Yeah.
No, I've had, so many helps, so much blessing from my church family. I think of your friendships, a lot of your friends, of course, you, our Eric, our staff, and Becky for, my goodness, 20 years, a great friend. And, that's your staff. And I think of how many other people you just love from the church, and they make your life better because you know these great people. And our church is endless numbers of wonderful people. Yeah, that just I'm so blessed by. And so,
absolutely. I mean, the thing is you got to get beyond that Sunday morning experience to really sense that feeling of connection and family. You know, if your only experience is that 1 hour and 15 minutes on Sunday morning, you're probably not going to feel that sense of community or family. It's when a home repair team shows up and helps you on your hot water heater, replace that. And you see the cards come in when you get sick, and you go to a small group and you get connected with that small group. I mean, that's when you start to really sense the connection and community that you're a part of.
Yeah. I would say,
you're doing a community cleanup. Come out and be a part of that. We're doing a fundraiser. Come out and be a part of that. Go beyond Sunday morning. So sorry about that.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just those connections. We're not meant to live life alone. We're not meant to be by ourselves. And so I look at it and say, no, I'm supposed to be connected with other people. So church as a family, loving our church like family is a big thing for us. Yeah. And not that we can always do that perfectly. I mean, for you and me, I can't connect with everybody who comes to church. You can't. It's just there's so many, but you connect to the people you can, and you realize as we each one connect with the other is really important. So church family is part of it. I think being able to use your gift is a good. What's so important about church? It says in 1 Corinthians 12:7, now to each one the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. And then there's another part where he compares the church to a body, right? So you're part of the body, whether you're an eye or an ear or a hand. And he says the eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. The head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor, and the parts that are unpresentable, we treat it with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment, but God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it. So that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. That's how it should be. Right? We're all concerned for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. And so I look at that and say, yeah, I mean, we're all a part of it. We have different roles to play, but you can't say you're not important to me. Like you're part of the church. You're not important. You're not important.
That's right.
That's not the right way to think.
That's not the biblical way to think about it. Not at all. I mean, we all have a role, and like I manage I oversee the grace teams in the church. There's 9 teams, and I try to encourage and help the leadership of those teams. And we just talked to one of the leaders last night about some things, some ideas that they had and everything. The main verse that kind of drives that ministry is 1 Peter 4:10. Just as each of you has received a gift, use it to serve each other.
Yeah, that's a fantastic verse.
That's the point of these gifts, is to edify and encourage one another, to serve one another, to spread Jesus around the church and around your community. I mean, that's the purpose of our gifting.
Right.
You know, and to say that my role as a musician or a worship leader is any more important than for example, the gift of service. Chuck, Rita, them people that are constantly at church helping, picking up things, moving things around. They are so important to this body.
And teachers, your children's ministry workers, people who are gifted at that. I would say those are people who work intercessory prayer and things like that. Every gift is important. I've always thought to myself, I'm the speaker guy, so I'm up front. I have a lot to do with leadership, so I realize, there's a lot of importance and responsibility there. But I also see myself as one part. Like, I'm just one part of the body of Christ. My goodness, I mean, I could not do this ministry without all the great help that we have. But or in the argument of, hey, I don't need to go to church to be, to worship God, and that's what we hear a lot of times. Okay, but how are you going to use your gift if you're not going? And what I have found is this, Mark. You can accomplish more teamed up with people than you typically can by yourself. If you're by yourself, you're not going to accomplish. And I remember hearing one of the famous musicians that came out of DC talk. I think it was Kevin Max, if I remember right, but he left the band and he wanted to go solo. And he said that one of the things he realized, he was only as good as the team he was on. Like, it didn't really go well. Like, his solo career didn't go great. He goes, I realized, I was who I was because of the guys I was with and what my team was.
Exactly.
And I realized, I'm who I am, and I'm able to accomplish what I accomplish because of the team that I play on. Is not just me. And I need that team around me. So again, we'll always accomplish more in our life with other people and in a group like a church than we're going to be able to do just out there floundering around on our own.
Yeah, it's synergy. It's building energy off of another.
Right.
I love horse pulls. I love watching draft horses, man, just dig in and go. When there's one of them, it's an incredible amount of weight that they can pull by himself.
Right.
When you get 2 of them together, they pull over double. You would think that they would double their weight. It's more than double.
Really?
They build off of each other. They get down, they get close to the ground, and they just pull really hard. And
That's awesome.
I love watching it.
Right.
Because you can tell that they're building off of one another's energy.
Right.
And they're digging in and they're doing it. And that's what we can do. We can lock arms. It's amazing what God can do through a church that's locked and united together and saying, you know what, we're going to do this mission. Look at Awana North, for example.
Absolutely.
Awana North. We're funding the children. We, they don't have to pay anything. They come in, do the thing. Why? Because you had a vision for it.
Right.
Your role, right? You're talking about gifting, your role, vision, casting, communicate it properly, get everybody involved.
Right.
It's what you do. You do it well.
I appreciate it.
Well, what happened? There's an effective ministry happening up in Erie Intermediate School in Ashtabula to a bunch of kids every week because of it.
Right.
Praise God.
And there's a bunch of adults up there in in different small groups, and we meet. But I've heard people say, they'll say this, I don't like organized religion. So my response is, do you prefer disorganized religion? Would you rather it not be organized? Because the fact is, organized religion is how you have food banks.
That's right.
Right? That's how we do the Vine Food Pantry every week. That's how we do Celebrate Recovery, which helps addicts every single week. There's no one person in this church that could go out and house 80 to 100 people at their place for a Celebrate Recovery. It's not possible. If we did not collectively, as a church, put this building up, a building that can be used for Celebrate Recovery, a building that could be used for dozens of kids to come into youth group ministry, a building that can be used for lots of children's ministries. We just had a big outreach with Easter Extravaganza. You can't pull that kind of stuff off by yourself. The only way that we can accomplish it is because we've joined together to get that done. And so to get in the togetherness aspect, a lot more happens than if every individual was just out doing their own thing without coming together and say, hey, how can we do it together? You would not be able to get Operation Christmas Shop. My goodness. I mean, we're going to send out, what did we send out? 700 boxes last year.
Yeah. Actually the pastor of the First Baptist Church, Kevin Phillips, he actually got a notification that our church had the most in Northeast Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah,
right.
I forgot to mention that to you. So he just,
I'm
telling him
chills.
that while we're getting,
Okay.
Yeah, our church was part of that, and we had the most, what he said, in Northeast Ohio.
Wow.
According to them.
And here we are out in the country.
It's incredible.
Because we're working together. And I think fellowship's part of it too, because in Acts 2:42, it says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, the breaking of the bread, and to prayer. Now, again, what's so important about church? Well, what's so important about church is fellowship. And we have those kind of relationships together, which I think are really important. Iron sharpens iron. One person sharpens another person. So as you look at it, we're super important to each other.
This blows my mind. The idea of daily meeting together to break bread and pray is fellowship. Observe what the apostles are teaching. I mean, this looks like church to me. Right. You know what I mean? You are enjoying time together. It's not necessarily based around some sort of a got to get it done agenda.
Right.
You're just fellowshipping with one another, getting to know each other, building into one another, edifying each other, so that when there is ministry to do, you're filled up. You're comfortable with the person that you're locking arms with. Right. I mean, I think it's super important.
Yeah, I do, because I think that yes. I mean, are there times where I just love to be alone? I just want to go walk on a path somewhere and be by myself because life is not life. It's just, there's a lot of details, a lot of overwhelming. It's like, hey, just kind of decompress. I love to run by myself. I mean, I just love to get on the trail. I love to see no one, absolutely no one. Yeah. It's and in Eagleville, in the middle of nowhere on the trail, that's definitely possible.
Pretty good. So
in the morning, you really don't. In the warm weather, I'll see the cyclists buzzing by me. In all directions, or both directions. But I love it just being by myself, but I don't really want to be by myself. Like, I don't desire to be, I desire to do things with people. I'm always, hey, asking a friend if they want to come. Hey, do you want to come hiking? Can I involve you? How can I involve this person? How can we do it together? And even in small groups, I just like fellowship because I realize that's just how I'm built. I don't like to be alone. I didn't even in college, dude. I didn't even in college like to go to dinner by myself. I didn't like to do, I was totally geared for other people. I was definitely a person, and everyone in my family knows if something happens to Jerry, I'll never survive by myself for long. It's just not who I am. I'm definitely a pack animal. And I believe God created us that way. God created us to be teamed up. You got your family. I've got a spouse and kids, and I have friends at church, and I have my other families are people I should be praying for and loving on and caring about. And it's huge. So I'm super social, and I think that church helps to build relationships, because one of the problems that we've had in America today is just the isolation, man. Isolation is not good. Man. You're sitting at home alone all day with your thoughts, and you don't have things to distract you. It's not good,
No, actually, last night at our grief Bible study, the conversation, the study was all about a community of brokenness and making sure that we connect with the community around us. We have to face grief and loss alone. Okay, we have to make the decision. The solitary decision is what I mean, to face it alone.
Right.
But man, don't try to do it alone.
Right.
Bring people around you so that you're not lonely.
Right.
You know, while
Right.
you're trying to do this. And the whole thing was about the cloud of witnesses around you and in heaven that have done it before us. Learning from the people around us is super critical.
Right.
You know, and looking at them. Some of the people we know right here every day, almost every day, every week we're in contact with them. You look at them and you're inspired at their hope, at their tenacity to get through it. They're like, they get up and they say, Lord, by your grace, I'm going to go to church today, even though I don't want to. I just had that conversation with a widow just Sunday.
Right.
I didn't want to come today, but I know I have to.
Right.
That's so encouraging. Right. Why does she have to? Because she knows that she's going to be edified around other people. Right. And that's why we exist. We want people to experience edification and joy, even in the midst of some of the hardest situations.
And edification, not outside of church, not really a word that we use that much. I mean, edification would be strengthening, encouraging.
Yes.
Like those are all the ideas of, absolutely.
Yeah,
because actually edification comes from the word that used to be edifice. Edifice means building. So it is that idea of, I'm building you up. I'm building you up. I mean, that's one of our roles in life. I just want to build people up. And by the way, I love building into people.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things to do.
This is the funniest thing. I don't even know if I should tell the story. I think it has something to do with it, maybe. But we're getting out of we go up to Awana North last night, get out in the parking lot, and there's this kid. I don't know how old he is. He's 8, 9, somewhere in there. And he goes, he gets out of his vehicle. He sees me. What comes out of his mouth? Yo, Bill. It's so funny. So Keith Appleby hears it. Jerry hears it. I hear it. We're laughing for the next 5 minutes. Like we thought it was so funny. Yeah. And I just said, I'm glad he knows my name, actually. Yeah. So, and I've worked with him. He was, when I was helping with Awana, actually hands-on, he was part of it. He's just kind of grown up. And I thought this was kind of a beautiful thing, actually. Not disrespectful whatsoever. Just, he's excited to see me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you have that chance, Bill. And you have that chance, I think, to build into people's lives. And I definitely love that. And for those in our church, like, I'm not afraid to say, to some of those people I know, well, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. And
absolutely,
you know what I mean? Man. Just be able to encourage them on in their life. I've loved getting to know people in the small groups, our guys group on Tuesday morning, my Wednesday night Bible study. Some people, I wouldn't really have gotten to know very well other than I get to see them there. So it was pretty cool.
No, and actually at the time we're recording this, the devotional we were doing, can you believe that's going to end, by the way? No. I mean, tomorrow. We're done with that devotional Lent season. That's crazy to me. But anyways, I backtrack. The devotional today was about making disciples.
Right.
And I think that's what the premise of making discipleship is investing energy and time into somebody's spiritual growth.
Right.
Coming alongside them. Building into these people.
Right.
That's what discipleship is.
Absolutely. Well, you look at where we've been as a church, and I do want to read one more verse before we're done, but just having a Bible study on leadership with 5 young men, 2 of those young men today have stepped up to run junior church and VBS. I mean, so we're putting in and making disciples. They're growing in their walk with the Lord. I absolutely love it. But in Hebrews 10, 24 and 25, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day approaching. And so let us consider how this is my job. I need to spur people on to love and good deeds. Yeah. So don't give up meeting together. Some are in the habit of doing that together, but we need to encourage each other, especially as you see the day approaching. So my job is to be with other people. And I know that can be hard because some people are church hurt. Some people have had some pretty negative things said. Christians can say some pretty unfortunate things. Yeah. My one friend said years ago, Christianity would be great except for the Christians. And he said it tongue in cheek, and I don't believe that's true because our church is so full of great people. But there are some who can say some pretty unfortunate things to people,
we talked
and
about
it's hurtful.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talked about last night was what the book actually we're going through. It calls the awkwardness of community.
Right.
So sometimes people just don't know what to say when you're grieving or hurting, and they'll just say some really stupid things that you're like, holy cow, did you just say that? I heard of a story of a guy who lost his son, a little kid, 5 years old, lost his son, and at the viewing, somebody comes up to him and says, well, I guess one of the things you can do is you can learn from this and pay more attention to your kids.
Oh my goodness. Now, I thought you were going to
That's
say they were going to come up and say,
horrible.
you can have another. Because
No.
that's typical if someone has a miscarriage. We can have another. It's not the point.
It's like, what
Not
are
the
you
point.
thinking? Why
Right.
would you ever say that? Ever,
It's rude as rude can be. It's ignorant. I'm shocked by it constantly. But I think even more than ignorance, there's sometimes it's judgmental. It's not just making a mistake in your words. I mean, some words are judgmental and intentionally hurtful.
Yeah.
And I just have to be careful. I was talking to my small group last night, and I think it was my small group last night, and I said, I don't burn bridges with people. I said, we were talking about how Christ didn't sin and how we're sinners and stuff like that. But, coming to Christ, you can relate. I said, and somehow we got on the topic and all this, just talking about when people have walked away from the church, I typically don't burn my bridges with them. I'm kind, I'm loving, and I've seen many come back because they can come back because I didn't make it so they couldn't. I was just, hey, well, we're going to love you and we're going to pray. And I tried hard and, that's not what I wanted to happen, but it did happen. And you just keep loving people no matter what. And I think that's a better way to go. But let's assume somebody didn't have that experience and the bridges did get burned. I wouldn't give up because of a few bad Christians. I wouldn't give up on Christianity. I wouldn't give up on church.
No way.
Any more than, hey, there's always bad doctors, bad pastors, bad lawyers, bad teachers. It doesn't make everyone bad.
Don't make your
They're
experience...
bad churches. It doesn't make every church bad.
Right. Don't make your experience with people negate your experience with Jesus.
Right.
You're going to stop pursuing Christ because a person hurt you? Come on, let's not do that. Let's stay strong with Jesus.
They may not
Go ahead.
may not do that. They may not abandon Christ, but they may be scared of what people might do to them, because when you've experienced the hurtful side of people's potential to say things to you they shouldn't say, you might be thinking you're going to do it again. Like my brother went around a corner too fast and hit a tree. Well, his head went through the windshield, mine bounced off the dash. Well, I'm telling you, it was a long time. Every curve, man, I'm like knuckled up on the dash, like holding up because, man, once that happens to you, you're pretty. I was thinking about every curve for a long time after that happened, and I got over it. But I could see some people like pretty careful, about wanting to be around people if they've really been hurt. So my encouragement would be, well, look, we need to be in community. Find your tribe. Those people you actually relate to. Get involved with them. Get to know. You don't have to know the whole church. Just get to know a few people, and go from there. And typically the secret of any group dynamic is you just be there consistently. You be there consistently. You don't have to say a lot. You just have to be there. Just show up and be there. Show up and be there. Eventually, people catch on and get your name and figure it out, and you get to know people as you go along. And I love how people have gotten to know each other. They have deep friendships. Nothing to do with me. It's like way outside of me, way outside of you. They love each other, and that's how church should be.
I just went and visited with a guy yesterday at a hospital, and found out there was somebody else that came earlier that day. 2 days before that, another person came. They're not part of any teams. They're not part of any ministry organized teams. They went because they loved the person.
Right.
And they went up there and watched and visited him.
Right.
That's awesome.
That is great.
That's church.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
And everyone has an opportunity to make a positive difference in someone's life. And even if you feel like, well, somebody hurt me, but you can still help somebody else. It doesn't matter what they did to you.
That's right.
You still have the opportunity to make a difference with somebody else because you learn from that and you say, hey, I can't control that, but you know what? I'm going to show love to a kid.
That's right.
I'm going to show love in a ministry, and I'm going to be the one that they're going to be happy I was in their life when it's all said and done.
Yep.
We hope some of these comments have been helpful to you today. We really appreciate you listening to the podcast and tuning in, audio, video, however you're listening and taking in. Super appreciate it.
Share it with your friends.
Yeah, do. Absolutely share it. Thank you. You have a blessed and an awesome week.